From Chesapeake, Virginia, the Lighthouse 100.1 presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
Sports Scene is midweek online, Saturday on the radio from 10 to 11 on 100.1 FM, 1010 AM. TuneIn.com, type in WPMH in the search bar to listen Saturday at 10. Greg Bicouvaris along with Joe Daniel on the Lighthouse. Sports Scene is an interview show, and also watch sports highlights on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends about gjbtv.com and click the YouTube link on the homepage for archived audio and video. Twitter at Greg Bick, at GJB Radio, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles on gjbtv.com in the contact section. Thank you to our military. Happy holidays, Happy New Year to everyone. Guest lineup presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville, now delivering. Sponsors on gjbtv.com, marketplace sponsors, and Hampton Roads, onlinemall.com. Phone line presented by Me Casita. Show presented by hrsmhof.com. Bowls, happy holidays, college basketball, NBA, NFL, it's all in full swing right now. Great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary, what teased me off. Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene weekly, and we love our regulars, newcomers, and tourists.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. I want to thank our good friends at Sakura Japanese Restaurant in Chesapeake. Go by and see Jasmine and their friendly staff for some great dining in. They're open on New Year's Day, 1437 Sam's Drive. Give them a call at 410-4577 for great Japanese food, great sushi, and much, much more. Well, I've known this gentleman since I've been 19, way back in 1986 when he gave me a tour of WTAR Radio. Of course, he worked at WTAR, Virginia Sports Hall of Fame, voice of the Atlanta Hawks, has done the Braves, NBA, done pretty much every sport imaginable. Let's welcome back Bob Rathbun. How are you, Bob?
Greg, I'm doing great. Trust you are too.
Very good, very good. Always a great during the holiday season. Let's talk about congratulations. We'll see you, of course, in the spring for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame, our second annual class, and we're delighted to have you in it next year.
Well, it is a tremendous honor, and I can't thank everyone enough. The best part is I get a chance to come back, and that makes me very happy. So I'm thrilled, family's thrilled, really looking forward to it.
Right, and one thing we've done with this, we've only had it for 2 years, and Chuck Hall, myself, and a few others got this rolling, is we didn't want to do a rubber chicken banquet, uncomfortable dress-up type event. We wanted to have a catered suite for the honorees, the fans or sports fans that are there, kind of enjoy the nice atmosphere without having to be all buttoned up.
Yeah, and a great time of year to do that, too.
Yep, absolutely.
Great idea.
All right, well, let's talk about front and center, what's going on with the Hawks. They've got Lloyd Pierce there, and how's it working out for him as a coach? I know the record has not been great, but y'all did get a nice win over the Wizards the other night.
Yes, we did. It was great to see Jeremy Lin come back and have a game like he had here a couple nights ago. Kind of revisited Lin's sanity there for a few minutes in that fourth quarter, so that was a lot of fun. But Lloyd's doing fine. He knew when he took the job of the task at hand, that is to really lay the foundation and get this franchise back on track to where we were a few years ago, and doing it through the draft. So he knew that there would be some growing pains with these young players, but he is doing just fine.
Very nice. The NBA season, of course, is a little bit different from college basketball. It starts so early. I mean, you got to figure another dozen or so games, give or take, Bob. You've already reached the halfway point of the season. It's kind of misleading because the All-Star break is always after the first of the year.
Yeah, it's a long grind, and they have elongated the schedule to try to give the players more rest between games. Not so sure how that's working out because they just fill the gaps with more practice and more travel. So I think if the players were asked and they were honest, I think they would enjoy more back-to-backs to have more days off. But it's okay. This is what we're paid to do. We're in the sports entertainment business, and it's what we sign up for, so we're excited. Want to put on a good show for the fans. That's number one, always, and have some great basketball to talk about. So, it's a wonderful life, Greg, and to be able to make your living calling games in any sport is a lot of fun, and the NBA makes it so easy. It's a lot of fun. And it's become a worldwide sport. It's second only to soccer around the world in popularity. And the game just keeps continuing to grow and evolve. And, the NBA announced today that we're going to take games to India next October with the Pacers and Sacramento. So it's just getting bigger day by day, and that's great for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, look at Christmas Day, of course, all the games that are on Christmas Day alone. I mean, the NBA is great. My only knock on the NBA is at the end of the game, unlike college, and you're from the South, Bob, so you were raised as a gentleman, you don't see a whole lot of handshaking with the players and the coaches. Is that because they kind of see each other so much more during the regular season? I've never quite understood that. That never really has evolved over the years.
Yeah, the only difference is it takes place before the game instead of after.
Mm-hmm.
You never see college coaches come out prior to the game, maybe to supervise some early shooting, something like that. But in the NBA, except for the head coaches, generally everybody says hello to everybody before the game.
Mm-hmm.
And after the game in the NBA, you're generally traveling. The road team is, and oftentimes the home team. And they want to get the few moments they have before they leave the arena. They've got a lot of friends and family that they want to say hello to. So it's sort of a, hey, we saw you before, so you nod and say goodbye and go about your business. But, no, there's just as much congeniality in the NBA as there is in college.
Of course, it's
not a big stage production like it is in college.
Right. You're exactly right, because Coach K never comes out early. He's always there at the last possible minute for a Duke game, and, of course, he's in his 39th year. A couple things here locally, of course. So you remember, of course, Jimmy Laycock was with William & Mary for 39 years. He's no longer the coach. And you remember the last time Old Dominion beat Syracuse, and they did it again recently. Your thoughts on both those landmarks there?
Well, Jimmy Laycock is one of my favorite coaches of all time. I was there doing William & Mary his first year when he replaced Jim Root way back when. And to see the success that he's enjoyed in Williamsburg is just, I couldn't be happier for him. He's a great, great football coach and just a wonderful person. And I'm thrilled for him, and he's had a wonderful career, and he's still got a lot to offer the game. And, yes, I could not, I can't go 5 minutes without thinking about Old Dominion basketball because of Ken Bazemore. He and I are the only two in the locker room, going over the Monarchs' schedule, results, and what's happened. And I told him, I said, the last time they beat Syracuse, yours truly was behind a microphone.
Yeah.
So we got a big kick out of that. And it was a lot of fun to see them win. And what a way to win. Down 10 at the half and to come roaring back on the road against an ACC team like that was really something special.
And not only were you there back in 80, but also Jim Boeheim was still the coach then too. So he was not exactly pleased losing to the Monarchs again.
No, I don't know that he's ever pleased about anything.
Sure.
But they got some problems up there in Syracuse.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo went in there Wednesday night, or Tuesday night, I guess it was, and just tattooed them.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got some concerns. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, not one of his better teams. But talking to Bob Rathbun, of course, worked at WTAR, worked at Channel 3, did games for Home Team Sports, voice of the Hawks, and, of course, former voice of the Braves as well. And I guess you also do the WNBA too, correct?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Well, you talk about the season yourself. Is it a lot the before and after? How is that, Bob? Because you've been doing the Hawks for so long and you've done games for so long. Sometimes when people get older or younger or whatever, it's the before and after. You hear the preparation. You hear a lot of legendary broadcasters say when the preparing starts becoming tough, it's, that's when I know to give it away. But the game itself is still fun, but losing is never fun. So how do you keep fresh?
Oh, good question. I don't know that I do anything specifically. Challenge of it each night is what inspires us all to do well. Our games go worldwide, Greg. I always chuckle when I hear people talk about, it's a national broadcast versus a local broadcast. And I do chuckle because that's not really the case. These Atlanta Hawks games go nationwide. Anybody with League Pass can watch it anywhere. And my broadcast, because we're based in Atlanta and it's easier to take our feed than just about anybody else's, our feeds go worldwide. We adopted a baby girl from China several years ago. And when my wife was over in China to get her, because it happened in the middle of basketball season, she popped on a game at 7 o'clock in the morning, and it was the Hawks feed against Houston. And they, of course, were playing Yao Ming, and so it was a big story in China. But she could sit there and watch my broadcast half a world away. And that was, 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So I think the challenge of knowing that your broadcast is going worldwide keeps you sharp, keeps you engaged. And, when you do this for a living and you want to tell these great stories of these players and teams, there's plenty of material available, and it's just a matter of organizing it and presenting it to the audience.
Not to mention all the technology, like you just said, but, people watch them on their computers, their phones. I mean, there's always going to be an audience, Bob, you know this from your generation, that's only going to listen to it on traditional radio and traditional TV. You know that better than anybody because your grassroots was regular radio and regular TV, but we cannot discount the factor of online, because online has made it even more relevant to so many different parties everywhere.
Oh, no question. And that's where the future is headed. I mean, it's not going to be in cable television, that's for sure.
Right.
The big providers, they want to give you your internet. Cable TV is just sort of there. But the future is that wire in your home. And that's what everybody's fighting for. And that's where the future of sports is headed. It's going to be an on-demand world where you'll pick and choose what you want when you want it. And the nice thing about sports is that that's not going to go away from what we do. It might change. We may do more in the studio than we do on site, but the chance for the announcer to call the game and the analyst to analyze the game is not going to change.
All right, we're going to take a short break. We're on 100.1 FM, 1010 AM, tunein.com. Type in WPMH to listen on your phone or your computer, and also archived on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Stay tuned. We'll be back after these messages.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. Go to gjbtv.com, hit the YouTube link. Greg Bicouvaris, along with Bob Rathbun, former Hampton Roads broadcaster, of course, has done so many different sports over the years. And back to what we were saying before the break, Bob, is that as mobile media flourishes, print journalism is pretty much just an online thing now. But you have to wonder, by the time your kid becomes 30 years old, will they even have, print newspapers?
Yeah, probably not. But I think the newspaper business, they got behind the eight ball and they never were, at the cutting edge of the change. Why they made their content free, I'll never understand when you're in a pay model from the beginning of your existence. So they kind of got behind. But I'll tell you, Greg, there is still an appetite for the printed word, whether that print appears, in your hands, or it's on your computer. Because look at the rise of The Athletic. It is quality journalism, long-form stories. They're pouring, obviously, a lot of money into it. They're attracting an amazing array of writers. But the fact that they could launch it and it take traction like it has tells you that there is still an appetite for people to sit down who enjoy reading about sports. It's still there. And I think a lot of places need to take a look at this and say, you know what, we could probably still make a difference if we're willing to commit, some time and money and resources to make it happen. So I don't think that print per se is dead, print being, of course, online terminology, but I still think that there's a place for it and it can still flourish.
One thing I used to read as a kid, I used to go through all the TV, radio columns all over the country. I would go to the library, read the LA Times, read the Chicago Tribune. I loved, even though he wasn't Mr. Columnist, I love Rudy Martzke's columns. But now it seems like you have to go to places like Awful Announcing or staatalent.com to find a good TV radio article. Of course, you can still find it maybe in the New York Post. I know Atlanta Constitution had a great TV radio column, but it still was nice to see your name in the print paper, like you said, but online, I guess, has got to carry on that tradition.
There are still a few writers that are dedicated to the cause, to cover the media landscape. Richard Deitch is one that takes the national perspective, and there are a few here and there. Dallas does a good job. Obviously, you mentioned New York at the Post. Andrew Marchand is somebody that you can follow regularly. Mushnick has a column, I think, 3 days a week, something like that. So, of course, they're in the the media hub up there, where all the networks are reading every word. So I think there's more of it in New York than anywhere else. But you can still find it from place to place. But it's just like everything else. There's the qualified journalist, and then there's bloggers.
Right.
And not all the time do the bloggers have the background or the intel to really know what they're talking about when it comes to what happens inside the industry.
Sure. Not to mention, too, that everybody seems like they've got a podcast now. I mean, this show is on traditional radio. It's on TuneIn. It's still on social media as well. But it seems like everybody's not trained has got a podcast and everybody's got a blog. But that doesn't make them professional by no means.
Oh, no, not at all. And I think for the consumer, you do have to be cognizant of the fact that everybody and anybody can do a podcast or write a column or blog or whatever, because the technology is available to everybody. But that does not mean you're a voice of reason and a voice of substance just because you got a microphone. I think that this is a very complex business that we're in for a lot of reasons. I mean, the pay model is one thing, ratings, advertisers, relationships with schools and leagues and teams. Makes it a pretty complicated, tangled web to try to discuss. Having an opinion about an announcer or having something to say about, the way a game was televised, well, that anybody can do that. To get behind the scenes and understand why it was done the way it was done, that's a little different story. And that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort.
Sure does. It's the before and after. I mean, I turned on ESPN Classic the other night and watched UCLA DePaul for a few minutes to see who the announcer was. It was Harry Callis, the late Harry Callis, known as the voice of the Phillies. But, a lot of people know you from around here as well as one of the voices of the ACC. You and Jim Thacker were probably the two best play-by-play voices the ACC's ever had. New horizon for them, the ACC Network in 2019. But what is up with the ACC in television today, Bob? There doesn't seem to be one consistent play-by-play voice, and it's sometimes hard to find their games on TV.
It is different. I think the ACC, by their own admission, would say they were a little late to the party in organizing this network. Many years ago, they sold all their rights to ESPN, and Raycom and the cable networks, the regionals, became subsidiaries. Now, to the viewer, you wouldn't notice a change. Your ACC basketball still comes on an over-the-air station, but all that's going to change next fall, and it's going to be all cable-driven on the ACC network. There'll be no more over-the-air ACC network. I think the big challenge that they're going to have, maybe not so much in Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, but in the other states that they're in, particularly New York, is going to be a question of can they get the network cleared on these cable systems. To go into the marketplace in 2018, 2019 with another sports network, the cable operators are to the point where, listen, people are cutting the cord every day. I'm losing business, and you want me to tack on another sports network.
Right.
I'm already providing, 5 ESPN channels. I'm providing, like for you guys, it would be Masson, CBS, NBC. I mean, you just go, plus all the leagues, the NBA TV, NHL Network, NFL, MLB, and you want me to put another one on?
Right.
I think the ACC Network and ESPN are going to have some problems getting clearance in a lot of places. particularly New York. I don't think that's going to be an easy nut for them to crack. So will the fan be affected? Well, maybe not so in Virginia and North Carolina and South Carolina, kind of the core of the league, but I'm not sure about elsewhere. I'm really not.
You're exactly right, because look at Maryland. They still are kind of an awkward fit in the Big Ten. They rarely are above 500 in football. They didn't go 500 in football this year. The Big Ten Network is an extra tier in additional. I've got the NBA Network. I can see your games when the NBA Network shows it, and that's national TV, and that's great. But it's hard to find the Longhorn Network. It's hard to find the SEC Network, and the SEC Network is probably ahead of the other ones, but the Big Ten Network and the Longhorn Network are still not front and center television.
Well, the Big Ten is a little bit ahead of the game because they were the first to get on the block. You know, they launched in 2006, and so they were in first. They got the infrastructure laid, and they're reaping the benefits. But even the Big Ten Network, Greg, is suffering from cable operators outside the Big Ten footprint taking the network.
Mm-hmm.
Like here, Comcast dropped it. This is a pretty big market. You know, this is the ninth biggest TV market in the country down here, and there's just no appetite for it. And that's what I'm saying. You know, I have to explain to people that the TV business, particularly the cable business, you have to understand. Most people aren't like us. Like, we are big-time sports fans. Mm-hmm. We listen, watch sports all day, every day, 7 days a week. Unfortunately, most people aren't that way. Most people couldn't care less about sports. And all you have to do is look at the ratings, where the HGTV network or the Food Channel will get better ratings than some of these sports networks,
right,
and some of the news networks. So that tells you right there that most people just aren't passionate about enough to sit down and watch a 2-hour basketball game or a 3-hour football game. That's just the way it is. So the fact that these networks are struggling a bit, Pac-12 network is a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to launch an ACC network in this environment. It's just not as easy as people think, because the appetite for the cable operators is not there, and quite frankly, most people couldn't care less if they never saw another game.
You're exactly right, which brings me up to my next 2 points, and we'll bring up a little bit more of the NBA and let you go. We know you're busy. Is a good example is the Dodgers, too. Their network is all over the place. It's kind of random. But what you said was exactly right. Look at the college football bowl season, Bob. Other than the Final Four, the average casual fan wouldn't even know a bowl game is on. The attendance is bad. It's really just programming for one particular network, and most people wouldn't know it if their life depended on it. Who played last night?
But the thing about it, Greg, is they make money off of it. And so if they can monetize it, which they have, because ESPN goes in and buys the entire bowl game, they can monetize it and make money off of it. They really don't care if it's not sold out. I mean, it looks bad on TV. Like that game in Frisco last night was played in a soccer stadium.
Yeah.
But they don't care. They need 3 hours of programming. They got to feed the monster. Mm-hmm. And so if the monster needs 50 bowl games, there'll be 50 bowl games.
Right, but you're also seeing, too, the people in the business know, and the public's starting to know this, too, that ESPN is using a lot of their announcers right there in Charlotte, Bristol, and other places in Los Angeles, and they're not even front and center at some of these basketball games that people will be watching in the first quarter of the year because of the.
Yeah, and it's not just ESPN.
Yeah,
it's Fox too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cost-cutting way to save money by not traveling, you know, your producer, director, and talent to go to the game.
Right.
Which is okay until something goes wrong.
Right.
And when they have announcers sitting in a studio at a high enough profile game to where people are watching and something goes wrong that the announcers can't figure out from 3,000 miles away, that's when they're going to get pushback. That's when the criticism is going to come their way. But most of the games that they do are so low level that if something went wrong, the vast majority of the viewing public would not even notice nor care. But if they've tried to do this, like Big Ten Network games, ACC Network games, ESPN games in the Big Ten, where they'll have the announcers at the studio. Well, Okay, but if Indiana's playing Michigan State and something controversial happens and your announcers aren't on site to explain what happened, the criticism that ESPN and Fox will take for that will be massive.
Yeah.
And then it will change. It will change back. Tom Crean, who's now the Georgia head coach, was the head coach at Indiana. And he had a conference game, I don't remember against whom, but the announcers did the game from Chicago. Okay? And Tom Crean found out about it. He said, this will never happen again in Indiana. And that's what it's going to take. Because it is. I've done them from the studio.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
You have no feel whatsoever for what's going on at the arena.
Yeah. No peripheral vision at all, no energy, and you can't tell about timeouts, you can't tell about injuries, and fan reaction. You can't tell nothing.
Yeah. It's awful.
Right.
But it's a way for the networks to save money. And when you're like ESPN, if you're doing, a couple thousand basketball games, if you can do 800 of them in a studio and save that money, they're going to take a long, hard look at that.
I got to ask you two more questions. LeBron, of course, with the Lakers, usually he takes his mental, emotional break around the first of the year. He's done that for years. He's getting older. He's no spring chicken. Obviously, I think they'll be in the top 8 in the West. Will he be a factor in the West with Golden State's issues? And will that be a relief for the East teams? Because it seems like even the Celtics aren't as good as they were a year ago. The Wizards are still a mess. And, Toronto seems to be the team that's front and center in the East.
To answer the LeBron question first, as long as he's on the court, his team's going to have a chance.
Sure.
Because he's that dynamic a player, such a difference maker. I mean, he single-handedly took Cleveland to the finals last year. I mean, they weren't all that great, but his greatness elevated everyone's play, and then he just beat Boston by himself in Game 6 and 7. So as long as he's out there, they're going to have a chance, even in the West. I don't think they're all that great. I think they're still too young a team to make a long run in the playoffs, but you just can't count LeBron out. In the East, I am not surprised at Boston struggles, mainly because they're trying to integrate Kyrie and Gordon Hayward into a mix that they proved last year they don't need him. Now, it's great to have Kyrie. He's the guy that's going to, if anybody's going to take them to the NBA Finals, it's going to be Kyrie Irving and nobody else. But you got guys that got used to playing big minutes. Terry Rozier, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. And they like being center stage. And now they got to step back and take a lesser role, and that's not going over so great. Does it mean it's insurmountable? No. But I'm not surprised at Boston's struggles. The better teams in the East are the one you identified in Toronto. They're clearly the best team. They've added one of the top 5 players in our league in Kawhi Leonard. They're going to be outstanding and have a great year. I think Indiana is very good, and I think Milwaukee is very good. And I think these are two teams that get the short shrift because they're not in big media markets. But the guys that you mentioned, the Washingtons, they have no chemistry. We talked about Boston. Philadelphia is a team that, they had to go get Jimmy Butler to keep that thing afloat. Now they got 2 alpha dogs in him and Embiid, and I'm not sure how that's going to work out in the end. I don't think their bench is good enough for them to make a long run. But I think Toronto, Milwaukee, and Indiana are the 3 that you really need to keep a close eye on in the East.
Yeah, in my opinion, Ariza, who's been around every NBA team possibly the last several years, is just an older version of Oubre, maybe not as dynamic, but he's older. I don't think he's going to help at all. All right, final question. You travel a lot of places on the NBA circuit, even the ACC. What is the one restaurant that Bob Rathbun has to go to in one of the NBA cities when you're on the road? What is the one place you always go to?
Well, I think probably Gibson's in Chicago because it is one of the great, Chicago old school restaurants on Rush Street. It's as popular today as it was 30 years ago, and over the years you get to know the people who work there, and it's just a great night to spend at the bar and have dinner and see a lot of old friends. So that would be my number one tip.
Well, Bob, happy holidays to you and your family. Wonderful family. All the best in your NBA travels in the first of the year. And thank you for being on Sports Scene, and we look forward to seeing you in the spring, and we will be in touch to get you back on again here in the first part of 2019.
Well, Greg, thank you, and I love being on with you, and thank you again for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Award. I'm thrilled to be going into the Hall of Fame, and can't wait to see everybody in May when we come up to Langley.
All right, folks, check it out. Like Bob said, the website, hrsmhof.com. Bob, all the best, and once again, we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Greg. Happy holidays.
You too. Bob Rathbun right there, one of the legendary voices of the NBA, made his name here at WTAR, former voice of the Tides.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. I want to thank our good friends at Barrel 17. Go by and see Jamie and the wonderful staff at 1706 Mediterranean Avenue. Catch up with friends this holiday season in Virginia Beach. Enjoy some great appetizers, burgers, salads, chicken sandwiches, snap dogs, all the great appetizers you want. Beer battered onion rings, something for everyone. Watch the game on TV. Like Barrel 17 on Facebook. They always have great specials this holiday season every time of the year. Excellent restaurant is Barrel 17 at 1706 Mediterranean Avenue in Virginia Beach. Something for everyone. Also, something for everyone is what's going on in Newport News pretty much throughout the first of the year. A lot of things going on. Let's start off with the Renee Popernack from the Newport News Parks and Recreation. Of course, the Celebration of Lights, that's one of the oldest traditions in the state of Virginia now.
Yeah, it's our 26th year this year, and every year we add more light displays. It's truly a family tradition. We're open every night at Newport News Park. It's $12 a car. Bring the whole family, drive through. It's open from 5:30 to 10 p.m. every night through January 1st.
Very nice. And talk about what people can expect to see and what's new this year.
Yeah, I mean, the park itself is beautiful, and then when you add the lights to it, it just makes it more magical for the holiday season. We've added more trees that change multiple colors and patterns. It's new technology. We added a new gingerbread house. So there really is something new to see every year. We even have actually a water fountain we added to one of our water areas that's lit for this year, so that's really nice.
Excellent. Of course, it's pretty convenient to everyone. Talk about the cost, and it's one thing is it's every single night, and the weather has not been an issue either. Talk about the hours.
Yeah, it's 5:30 to 10 p.m. every night. We are open even if it is rainy outside. If we have a light snow, we still stay open. Hasn't been an issue this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you have an outdoor activity plan and it doesn't work out, you can always drive through Celebration of Lights.
All right, one thing that changed this year was of course, the no fireworks during the first weekend in December at the Newport News City Center. Talk about that whole dynamic. Give us kind of a preface, the lay of the land, and what the future holds as well for the lighting of the tree and, of course, the whole event going on at the City Center. That's one of the reasons there was to promote the City Center and promote the businesses there, as well as Newport News Parks and Recreation. Talk about that whole marriage.
Yeah, this year at City Center, we're doing the Bayport Credit Union 25 Nights of Northern Lights. What that is every night you come out to City Center from 6 to 10 p.m. At the top of the hour, there's a 5-minute light and music show. We brought a brand new, very technology-based tree that not just creates patterns, but it has images on it this year. That was brand new. And we have special lighting around the entire fountain that's coordinated with the light show at the top of the hour. And in between the light shows, the trees are still lit up and doing different patterns and that. We made a transition because we had been doing Holly Dazzle, which was a one-day event. It was very popular, and we loved it, but it was very crowded, and we actually started getting some negative feedback on that. So they decided to go with an event that you could enjoy all 25 nights at City Center. And
that's, of course, through Christmas, too. And, of course, they light the tree, on the top of the hour, every hour?
Yes, from 6 to 10 p.m. will be the light show. In between, you'll still see pretty lights, but the concentrated show is really at the top of the hour. Very nice, very nice. Also, there's the Visitor's Pass, and Newport News, of course, is involved with that as well. Right. Our tourism department, if you're a Newport News resident, you can come to our office and pick up a ambassador pass, and it allows the citizens of Newport News to experience some of our major attractions for free during the first part of January, and we do encourage people to take advantage of that because, everybody loves something free, particularly after the holidays, and you're kind of down and you're looking for something to do. That's great opportunity because we do have a lot of small attractions that people might not be aware of in Newport News.
But they can also pick up that visitor's pass right there where the Celebration of Lights office is, pretty much, right? There's a little office there as well, correct?
Right. The Newport News Visitor Center is actually at the entrance of Newport News Park, and that's open year-round where people get information about what's going on, with the park, and it's convenient for all the travelers on the interstate, so they can just pull off right there because we're right there on 64 and get information about Newport News.
So what happens after the holiday season? I know the one good thing is the Celebration of Lights goes on through at least New Year's Day, correct?
Yes, January 1st is our last night for Celebration of Lights. And then we start looking forward to everything we have coming up. We have the One City Marathon again, and this year they're adding a half marathon, which is brand new. It's our 5th year, so they decided to add that race to it. So, if you're athletic, you might want to start training for that, and you can certainly sign up now. A lot of times they have sign-up specials if you go to their website and their Facebook page, and they're doing giveaways associated with that. And we even have a fun run for the whole family too.
Right, now let's talk about that date. That's really a dynamic event. It pretty much the morning hours, early afternoon, that totally supersedes a lot of city roads, and usually they have it on a Sunday. So let's talk about that as far as what people can prepare for and what is the date of the event.
Yeah, it's the first part of March. We're out there, and it's actually a weekend because the Friday you can start picking up your race materials at the Denby Community Center. They have a little expo going on there with health and wellness, and then that continues on Saturday with wellness activities and exhibits, and people are picking up race packets. There is a pre-race party at the Boathouse Live at City Center that you can buy tickets for to carb load for the race the next day. And all of our races are on the Sunday, where we have the fun run taking place downtown. The marathon starts at Newport News Park, and we also have a relay, race too. You can be a part of for that. And then we'll have the half marathon, and we'll start sort of midway, so everybody uses the same finish line at downtown Newport News.
Very nice. So really there's something for everyone, and people can walk it too, right, Renee? They don't have to just run.
Oh, no, yeah, and we can do, people have a good time. Whole families do the fun run. The relays are really great because people come in costumes. They create fun teams with their friends if you're not ready to jump in and do the whole marathon. So there's a lot of different ways to enjoy the one. It says One City Marathon, but it's much more than that.
And, of course, we move ahead to spring. There's always a lot of spring events, and there's always the big 4th of July event. But I know you have a summer concert series in the summer at the park there. Talk about that as well. How has that evolved over the years?
Yeah, our first big event we start with is the Newport News Children's Festival of Friends, which is the first weekend in May at Newport News Park, where you can have over 100 free activities for children. We do that, and we have a King Lincoln Park Day at King Lincoln Park the first weekend in June. We have a wine festival at Lee Hall Mansion that's in June. Our 4th of July event, our Newport News Fall Festival. So really, we have a whole year full of events, and we encourage people to go to our website, which is www.nnparks.com, and that has all of our event updates for all of our events on that. And, if people want interested in being a food vendor or a participant in our event, you can also get information like that on the website, too.
And then one question I want to ask you, too. I mean, you might not be as up-to-date with it as in some cases, but how about athletics, the Newport News Parks and Recreation for adults and kids? I know there's a lot of great community centers. The Midtown Community Center is excellent for swimming, and of course Denby's got a nice center there. They can even host little parties, and as well as Newport News Midtown Center. But how about like adult sports as far as flag football, softball, basketball? What is up with that?
Yeah, we have adult softball leagues. There's normally, 2 leagues within the year, and we have the Stony Run Athletic Complex, which is a beautiful complex up in the Denby area that's also available for rental for tournaments. That's very active. We have the Children's Youth Leagues, and we also offer instructional classes in sports skills, too. So, we have fitness classes at our community centers that people can join. We have martial arts classes. They offer boxing. We offer ice skating classes through our instructional class programs. So even if you don't have a sport, you can actually learn a new sport. And going through Newport News Parks and Recreation allows you to learn about things in a very affordable way also.
Renee, thank you so much for the great update. We look forward to talking to you after the first of the year. Have a happy holiday season.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Renee Popernack right there from the city of Newport News. I want to thank our good friends at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. They sponsored Joe Daniels' Question of the Week as well. I want to thank Mike and the staff for spacious, nice dining area, great bar, lunch and dinner daily, burgers, steaks, soup, salads, seafood, pasta, chicken, ribs, something for everyone. Great rollout menus too. Like Outback Steakhouse on Facebook. Follow them on Twitter as well. Go by and see Mike at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach for a great meal they deliver. Give them a call at 523-4832. Outback Steakhouse, something for everyone in the Kempsville section of Virginia Beach.
It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
Back on Sports Scene on 100.1 FM, 1010 AM, tunein.com, type in WPMH. Of course, become a favorite on TuneIn of Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Go to WPMH. We'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world, listening to today's version of Sports Scene. Thank you for all that you do, and we hope you're enjoying today's broadcast as well. Highlights, of course. Sports Scene is online on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Saturday from 10 to 11 on the Lighthouse as well. HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Browse, shop, visit, bookmark it. Highly recommend it. HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com. Perfect for the holiday season. GJBTV.com. HRSMHOF.com. Our question presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville to our esteemed producer, Joe Daniel. Joe Daniel, do you reflect at the end of the year? Do you process at the end of the year, emotionally, physically, spiritually, about your overall well-being?
I don't. Maybe I should. I know a lot of people do. One of the worst times when I used to go to the gym all the time, and one of the worst times to ever go to the gym is the first month of the year, January, until about halfway into February. Then it starts to thin out, and all of the regulars or the people who were there before the New Year's stay consistent. And anybody who just did the New Year's resolution, I'm going to start eating healthy, I'm going to start working out and going to the gym, have pretty much fizzled away. So great if you are able to maintain for past those first 2 or 3 months. That's always the hardest part. But I don't do it myself. I probably should, like I said, and reflect back and say, okay, what were some of the mistakes that I made in the past? How can I learn from them? And then make myself goals and future projections for myself. I think that would be really helpful. So maybe I should start doing that.
Absolutely, of course, because life always evolves and life always changes as well.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com studios.
All right, welcome back to Sports Scene as well. For more, log on to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archived audio and video, including Sports Scene. Let's welcome our regular monthly feature, Gina Ippolito from Smithfield VA Events. Gina, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
Very nice. Happy holidays to you and your family.
You back at you. It's that crazy time of year, that's for sure.
It sure is. And, of course, as soon as pretty much December 26th rolls around, it's a totally new season because, they got New Year's Eve, which, of course, happens every year. But your events become front and center right away in the first quarter.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, it's we hold the next event we have is the Smithfield Bob Fest and 8K Chili Bob Road Race, which is January 19th. It's always the Saturday that falls on Martin Luther King weekend. So, yes, as soon as we get done with the holidays and celebrating the new year, it is high gear getting ready for Bob Fest. So we're looking forward to it and looking forward to a great 2019 for our whole trio of events.
Well, let's talk about Bob Fest. What can people expect with their ticket when they walk in, and what does it include?
Well, this year, Bob Fest is a little different than our other two because it's held in January. We hold it under, it's about 64,000 square feet of heated tent space this year. We have expanded the party tent by 80 feet, so it is yet a bigger tent. Every year we get a little bigger. This is the max, though. We can't get any bigger than this. The tickets include, it's an all-you-can-eat event. It's oysters, bloody barbecue, Brunswick stew. The DeLoreans are the band, and then we also sell beer and wine. Bloody Marys are the featured drink. And then this year, Absolute Vodka is our sponsor vodka, and we are carrying 2 new vodka drinks. We'll carry an Absolute Lime Mule, which is got the lime vodka and ginger beer. And then we also are doing a Absolute Greyhound, which is the grapefruit vodka with pink grapefruit juice and pomegranate juice in it. So we have 2 new drinks this year, and I'm anticipating those to be a big hit. And it is mostly sold out. There's a handful of ways you can still get tickets through either registering for the 8K race. There's a handful left. You can add 2 tickets in. There are a few of what we call the $100 VIP individual tickets, which do get you in the event early at 11 o'clock instead of the main gate at noon. So you can come in and get oystered up and get your round of drink tickets and stuff before the main gate opens. And then there are a handful of hotel rooms left in town that you can add 2 tickets to your reservation for. So, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But the good thing is this is not your first rodeo. You and your staff have done this before, so that makes it a little bit easier. But like anything else, it always changes every year a little bit, like you said.
It does. It does. Every year we've made the tent bigger. This will be the 6th annual Bob Fest. I can't believe we've done 6, and it will be our 18th event since we started in 2012, because we now do 3 events a year. And, yeah, we're looking forward to 2019. We hold these events to raise money for charitable organizations in our local community. And the Wine Festival in April, we will hit $1 million of donations back to the community. So we are pretty excited about 2019.
And one good thing, it brings awareness to the community in Smithfield as well. I'm sure the town is very happy with that as well.
It is. I mean, it's gotten to be, we give money away a lot of different ways. There's a selection process. People make an application over the summer to be what's called a benefiting organization. And those, that is given out between the 3 events. We do about $80,000 a year. We upped it $10,000 this year. So we'll do $80,000 that way in 2019. And those are either $5,000 or $10,000, basically grant kind of applications back. We also, for each event, have anywhere between 40 and 50 local organizations who come out and volunteer for the event. Some groups only have, 4 or 5 people, and other groups have 30 people. On the average, it takes about 350 volunteer slots, which are 4 to 5 hour shifts, during the day of the event, or either before or after, for setup or cleanup. And we make donations back based on the number of hours that your organization works. And we do $20,000 to $30,000 per event back to the community that way. We also donate our tickets and tables. For the Wine Festival, we donate a couple of chalets to the Education Foundation here and for the public school system. And then we have a private school called Isle of Wight Academy that they auction off at their events. Last year, our tickets and tables, we call those products that we donate to other organizations, and they raffle them off or have an auction. Those all brought in $23,000 last year for those organizations. So it's gotten to be a huge part of the community. We gave away $223,000 in 2018 back to the community. So for, Smithfield only has a population of about 8,000, and the county has about 36,000. So it's a substantial amount of charitable money going back to a variety of organizations that enable them to move forward with their missions or causes or whatever they do. So it's been a win-win across the board for the town.
Do you multitask on all 3 of your events at the same time, or you try to focus on just one event at a time? Because before you blink, it's time for event number 2.
Oh, it is. I mean, it's our season. Our season runs from the Bacon Fest in the fall to Bob Fest is our second one, and then the season, our trio season, wraps up with the Wine Festival in April. And pretty much once we hit August and we start gearing up for that Bacon Fest in October, it's pretty much nonstop until the Wine Fest is over with. We do kind of focus on each event individually, but we've gotten to where our tickets have gotten to be so hard to get. Our sponsorship program is just flourishing because you can score a sponsor table or a sponsor party chalet, in advance of tickets going on sale to the public. people are wanting to secure that stuff a whole lot earlier than they used to. So 2018 was a big year for us. We moved into a new building for our office on site at the park. We also moved into our 2 storage barns that are reconstructed as part of the historical easement that is here at Windsor Castle Park this past summer. So we are hoping that in 2019 we can grapple with that a little bit more proactively and get ahead of the game. We've just been so busy moving and growing these events, and even though they're wonderful events, you learn something every time you hold one, and we really try to make it better than it was the year before by tweaking something about the event. In 2019, we're also going to at the Wine Festival. There is a section of our River Stage Amphitheater. We are expanding that, and so we'll be able to add about 400 people to both the Wine Fest and the Bacon Bourbon Fest, which hopefully will help with the fact that it's been hard to get tickets. So we're excited about that, but there's a lot of changes, and logistically behind the scenes, that impacts a lot of different things that you have to deal with. So we're growing, and we're continuing to donate more money back to the community every year because of it. And but it's crazy. It's a full-time job.
Absolutely. And talk about how people can connect. Talk about the website and social media. I know you're active on Facebook and Twitter.
Yes, our Facebook page is the main one that you need to go to is Smithfield VA Events. We've started posting most of the stuff on there and then sharing it on the separate event pages. I think this year we're going to consolidate down to just have one Facebook page. Managing 4 of them has gotten to be a little bit crazy. Our website is www.smithfieldvaevents.com. And from there, you can click on whichever event you are interested in, finding out information on. And our Twitter is SVA Events. Yeah, there's all kinds of ways to find out how to get a hold of stuff. Just gearing up for Wine Fest, because Bob Fest, although we haven't held it yet, it's pretty much sold out. Wine Fest, we will start doing sponsorships for that in January. Tickets go on sale to the public February 20th and 21st, online only, the general admission tickets. And that event is April 13th this year. So we will roll right into Wine Fest as soon as we get done with Bob Fest.
Something for everyone, always something to look forward to, because the winter, there's not a whole lot of activities in the first quarter of the year, and you've got some excellent activities there in the winter and the spring.
We do. Bob Fest, we don't donate. We still donate $40,000 or $50,000 from it back, but that's not as much as we do from the other 2 events. Mostly just because we don't have as many people. The format's different. It's all underneath these heated tents. We do about 1,500 less people for this event than we do the other 2. But it's we did it. Most our other mission in our mission statement, besides charitable impact, is economic impact. And the middle of January is kind of dead in Smithfield, Virginia. And with it being Martin Luther King weekend, a lot of people have a long weekend. We sell out every hotel room in town for this event. And so we get people that are here for the weekend, and so it fills up the hotels, it fills up the restaurants. People go and shop downtown Smithfield. So, it's a nice, by the time you get done with Christmas and New Year's and it's the middle of January, people are looking for something to do. And so it's kind of an odd event, but there's nothing else really like it in coastal Virginia. So it's gotten to be very popular. And, of course, we try to do the best job we can in servicing everybody that comes. The DeLoreans are put on such a great show. It's just high energy, and everybody likes to eat oysters. Well, most people do.
Sure.
So it's gotten to be kind of a niche event, and very well attended, and it is our most popular event as far as how fast it sells out.
Gene, all the best to you and your family for the holiday season. Always a pleasure for the last few years to talk to you every month. We continue in 2019, and we look forward to seeing you at the Bob Fest as well.
Yes, and everybody have a safe and joyous holiday season, and we will talk to you again in 2019.
Right. Leave us with that website one more time.
Okay, the website is www.smithfieldvaevents.com.
Very good. Always the best, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Gina.
Bye-bye.
Gina Ippolito right there from Smithfield VA Events.
What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
A sports nugget before what teased me off. Joe Flacco, the MVP of Super Bowl 47, started the first 9 games of 2018 before suffering a hip injury versus the Steelers. Of course, Flacco plays for the Ravens for now. He's been the offensive cornerstone of this franchise, being drafted 18th overall in 2008. Fellow first-rounder Lamar Jackson has started the last several games. He seems to be the quarterback of the future. I had a chance to stage manage that game for Fox between, of course, Tampa Bay and the Baltimore Ravens, in which the Ravens won. What teased me off as well, presented by longsbilliards.com. Joe Daniel, toxic people who just suck the life out of you.
Yeah, absolutely, especially in personal relationships or intimate relationships, boyfriend, girlfriend. If it is toxic, if it is abusive, it doesn't have to be physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. If it is that toxic relationship where it is just a strain and a struggle, but you're still in it, the best thing to do is, I wouldn't say automatically leave, maybe try to get help, therapy, counseling, go to your local church, talk to somebody to see if there is a way to make things better and make it not so much of a toxic relationship. But at the end all, you have to do what's best for you and your mental health and your spiritual health.
Yeah, because some people rely just on Messenger on Facebook because we live in a texting Messenger world. I mean, Skype doesn't exist now because of Messenger for the most part. So this is really bad. Messaging someone on the phone, and all of a sudden another guy or girl interrupts that message by saying, hey, look, I'm talking to this person. I'm like, wait a second, I'm messaging so-and-so, and a random third party who you don't even know starts getting on that person's phone and starts being part of the conversation. That's pretty cold.
Like in a group text?
No, just a one-on-one text, and there's a third party that takes that person's phone and says,
oh, wow.
Oh, we're busy right now.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. It's like it's just as bad as them picking up the phone and saying, they may as well just do that. Pick up the phone and say, hey, this person's busy. Like, who are you? Get out of my face.
Yeah, I don't even know you, you know?
Yeah,
and,
that's pretty bad. That's pretty rude.
But usually one word happens after that. Block.
Yeah.
You don't talk to any of the parties. This is really bad this time of the year. Dry, itchy skin.
Yeah, use a lot of lotion. Washing your hands, and especially coupled with the dry air, it makes for cracked skin. And they have a lot of lotions, especially if you work with your hands. I know a lot of people, carpenters, laborers who work with their hands a lot, and they have this, I forget what it's called exactly. It's like beaver lotion or something like that. But it works really, really well to help keep your hands moisturized and protected.
Absolutely, of course. This is really bad. I was recently back from a Redskins game a couple weeks ago. It wasn't snowing in Maryland, but as I was driving back south, I went right into the eye of the snowstorm, driving into a snowstorm. Idle cars on the side of the road.
Yeah, be very, very careful whenever you drive. Don't speed. You'll get there. Just take your time. Better to get there alive than not get there at all.
Relatives who make no effort to visit. It's always you making the effort to visit your relatives, while those relatives, whether it's family, first part of the family, or cousins, whatever, make zero effort to visit.
Yeah, and of course we always are making the exception for people who have disabilities or are not able to travel in the air or not able to travel long distances. Yes, but if they're just like, see me if you want to see me, but then they hold it against you if you're not able to see them or don't want to see them, even though, like you said, they don't even make the effort.
The worst is overseas family members as well. Endless Christmas songs that start too early.
It's been getting earlier and earlier. I like it, and I think it's appropriate for the day after Thanksgiving. And I think a lot of radio stations, stores are starting to pick up on that trend and make that the thing where it's just that's the earliest that you go.
That whole silly giddiness of the holiday season just to buy a gift. Customer service lines, no matter what customer service line you go to.
Calling in anywhere and asking for help, it always takes too long, and it always seems as though they're trying. And I understand what I don't like. I want to talk to somebody, and I know that because of the high caller volume, everything is automated. Push 1 for this, push 2 for that, and then you're constantly talking to this automated recording. And to me, that bothers me, and that's irritating because it rarely actually has to do with the issue that I'm calling about itself.
Right. They already tell you to go online. We know that already. That's why we're calling a person. But banks need to tighten up as well, too, with their customer service as well. This happens to everybody, going to bed angry.
Try not to, but sometimes, you have to go to bed angry, and then you'll wake up a little bit better, and your emotions will subside, your thoughts will get going, and you'll realize that maybe what you were upset about was not that big a deal to begin with.
Because your attitude the next morning is totally different.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
All right, that's what teased me off. Want to thank our guests, Bob Rathbun, Renee Popernack, Brenda Tusing, and Gina Ippolito. For more, go to gjbtv.com, hit the YouTube link, at Greg Bick on Twitter, at GJB Radio on Twitter. For GJBTV.com, as well as Joe Daniel, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. We'll talk to you soon. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.